Right now, you're sitting in a theater, in the movies, at the cinema, watching Odysseus pull his wife into his arms as the score swells. The screen is about to cut to black, and you think that's the ending. Homer disagrees. He kept the poem running for several hundred more lines after this exact moment, and for nearly 2,800 years, almost nobody has put those lines on a screen. Most people assume the story is finished the second the last suitor hits the floor. That's the ending a studio can sell, but it is not the ending a poet actually wrote. And the gap between those two endings is bigger than most people realize. And to see how big that gap actually is, you have to follow the story past the moment every trailer actually ends on. Before the celebrations even start, Odysseus gives two more orders most adaptations leave out entirely. 12 of Penelope's own maidservants had sided with the suitors while he was gone. Telemachus hangs all 12 at once, a rope strung between a pillar and the roundhouse. Homer's own Sima describes their feet twitching like doves caught in a snare. Then there's Melanthius, the goatherd who armed the suitors during the fight. His punishment is much worse: nose, ears, hands, and feet cut off while he's still alive. In 2018, classicist Emily Wilson became the first woman to publish an English translation of the Odyssey through W. W. Norton. In interviews, she called this the passage modern readers flinch at hardest, not the killing of the suitors, but the punishment that follows it. Even the reunion with Penelope isn't the single triumphant scene it looks like in a 3 hour cut. Odysseus is home, the suitors are dead, and Penelope still doesn't believe it's him. She sits across the room in silence, testing him, refusing to celebrate. Her own son accuses her of being cold hearted. It takes an old servant washing his feet and finding a childhood scar before anyone even entertains the idea. And even then, Penelope sets one final trap of her own, asking a servant to move their marriage bed out of the bedroom. Odysseus reacts with genuine anger because he built this bed himself around the living olive tree and it cannot be moved without destroying it. Classicist Norman Austin, in his 1975 study of the Odyssey's recognition scenes, argued that this bed test, not the killing of the suitors, is the poem's real climax. The killing isn't the end of the story either. Odysseus still walks out to his father's farm, Laertes, king of Ithaca once. He's found in rags, working the dirt with his own hands, half starved by 20 years of grief. Odysseus doesn't even reveal himself right away. He tests his own father first, just like his wife tested him, claiming to be a stranger who once hosted Odysseus abroad. He watches the old man collapse in grief over a son who is standing right in front of him. Only then does Odysseus show him the same scar Euryclea found, and name the exact fruit trees Laertes gave him as a child. Their reunion isn't triumphant. It's quiet, slow, full of sadness, and built entirely out of proof, not joy. And while that's happening, the poem goes somewhere the movie almost certainly won't follow it: the underworld, a second time. The souls of the dead suitors arrive among the dead, and the ghost of Agamemnon is already there, waiting alongside the ghost of Achilles. Agamemnon spends this scene comparing two wives out loud: his own, who helped murder him the day he came home from Troy, and Penelope, who waited 20 years and never wavered. And he goes further than praise. He says the gods themselves will make sure poets keep singing about her loyalty forever. And that's exactly what's happening in the poem you're listening to right now. Classicist Bernard Knox called this comparison the emotional key to the entire epic. And back on Ithaca, word spreads fast. 108 men are dead, and every one of them had a father. Those fathers gathered in the town square first, not on a battlefield. One elder, Halitherses, stands up and warns the crowd not to march at all. He tells them plainly, "The town let the suitors run wild for years. It shares the blame. Nobody listens." A man named Euphides, father of Antinous, the first suitor Odysseus killed, arms the crowd anyway and marches them straight towards the house of Odysseus. And this is where Homer lets the story almost become a different kind of story entirely: a civil war. Fathers against the returning king, with the goddess Athena herself disguised as an old family friend fighting on Odysseus' side. Laertes, the same old man farming in rags a few scenes earlier, throws the first spear of the battle himself, and he kills Euphides clean through the cheek guard of his helmet. And before the fighting can spread any further, Zeus throws a thunderbolt down at Athena's feet as a signal. She stops both sides in place with her voice alone. Not a negotiation, a command. And then, the text says, she wipes the memory of the whole conflict from everyone involved. The 1992 Oxford Commentary on the Odyssey, co written by classicist Alfred Hubeck, calls this one of the strangest endings in ancient literature. A piece that isn't earned. It's installed like a patch almost directly into people's memories. And the instant Athena's peace holds, the story just stops. No wedding, no coronation, and no final scene of Odysseus and Penelope together again. Homer doesn't return to them at all, and the last image in the entire epic is a goddess ordering peace, and that's it. And here's the part that makes all of this even stranger. Some ancient scholars didn't think Homer wrote any of it. Two librarians in Alexandria, working almost 2200 years ago, marked an earlier line as the true end of the poem. Their names were Aristophanes of Byzantium and Aristocratus of Samothrace. The line they picked was the moment Odysseus and Penelope finally go to bed together, and everything after that, in their view, might have been added later by someone else entirely. And modern scholars have never fully settled it either. Classicist Dennis Page argued in his 1955 study of the Odyssey that the ending shows clear signs of a different and later hand, and other scholars, including Knox, argued the opposite, that without this ending, the poem never actually finished its argument about what revenge actually costs. And it's easy to hear all of this and land on a simple takeaway or conclusion. The real ending is just much darker than the movie, more violence, more bodies, and more things a studio wouldn't add to a film. But that's not actually the argument the extra material is making. Homer, or whoever kept writing after him, wasn't adding shock value for its own sake. He was finishing a point the tidy ending erases completely. Odysseus kills the suitors, and the killing doesn't stop there. It spread to their fathers, exactly like revenge always spreads, one generation deeper than the person who started it. And it only stops because something outside the human character forces it to stop. The peace at the end of the Odyssey isn't earned by a hero, it's imposed on him by a god, because the humans in the story could never find a way to stop their own doom. And that's the difference between the ending a studio can sell you and the ending a poet actually sat down and finished. So, you walk out of the theater, and the score is still in your head, and you think you know how it ends. And Odysseus thought so too, standing in his own house, bow still warm in his hands. He was wrong. Peace still had one more fight left in it. Every story you think you know has one more fight left in it somewhere, cut for time. So subscribe, and I'll keep going back for the rest of it.